What's up, my pilots? Angryponcho here. Welcome back to Let's Play The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. In this episode, we are going to do, I think, a little collection, and then we're going to go into Mire. It's not going to take very long to do all of this, so we'll do it all at once. So now that we have the Titan Mitt... Oh, sorry, chicken friend. I thought for a second he was an enemy. I forgot what I was up to here. Now we get the Titan Mitt, we can lift those really heavy, darker boulders. And come back here to the Swordsmith's house, which in the Dark World has these really satisfying pegs in front of it. The little pegs. Squish them all, and we get a secret area. Very nice. Whoa, was that a final heart? It was! We got 16 now. That's good, because we're going to be doing the dungeons out of order in this episode. You're not supposed to do the Mire before you do the Ice Palace. You're supposed to do the Ice Palace first. But I don't like that, because I did the Ice Palace first, which is the natural route, when I did my blind playthrough. Ribbit, your body did not change. You're just an ordinary guy, aren't you? I used to live in Kakariko Town. I wonder what my partner is doing there without me. Ribbit, I have a request of you. Please make it your partner. Okay. So I did natural route, and it sucked. Mire, or rather, the Ice Palace sucks. There's this one part, well, I'll point it out when we're in there. There's one part where the item from Mire will be really useful, and it'll shortcut some bullshit, so I'll point it out when we get there. So that's the reason I'm doing Mire first. And there's actually no issues with it. You can do Mire first, because you don't need the item. Oh, we'll temple your sword perfectly if I come back. So I'm going to have to come back in a little while. Hey guys, I'm back. Will you please temper my sword? Hello. Hey you, welcome. Ask us to do anything. Oh, I just dropped by. Temper my sword, please. Only 10 rupees? Yeah, we have to say yes a couple times there, but he'll do it. And then just leave and come back, I believe. You might have to scroll the screen off, I'm not sure. Yeah, you have to scroll the screen. And this will get us to the level 3 sword, which is pretty freaking cool. It's going to do twice as much damage as the Master Sword. It's nice, at least in this situation, that he doesn't just throw the Master Sword away. It's like, oh, it's being sharpened. That makes sense. It's still the same sword. Hey there. Your sword is now tempered up. Carrot! Your sword is stronger. You can feel the sheer power flowing through your body. Oh boy. Okay, so back to the Dark World. So we want this chest to come with us. Because the key is locked inside this chest, you can never open it. Just take it with you. Alright. I'm not sure how, as a kid, anyone was supposed to figure out where to take this, but there's a guy down in the desert. I believe in the Light World, if I remember correctly. So I might as well warp to the Light World. Let's see if the chest comes with me. Yeah, okay, cool. We'll just head down there then. I don't think you can't do the sprint running, and you can't jump down ledges, and you can't use the bird. I don't think you can use their duck warps either. But the chest will pretty much follow you other than those things. So it's not too hard to make your way around here. Oh, what a day, what a day. I'm having one of those days. I'm recording this on the Tuesday after Memorial Day. I saw an interesting thing online yesterday that was sort of a strange choice. I feel like, am I going the right way? I believe I am here, yeah. So you guys know how Google's slogan used to be, "Don't be evil"? I think they changed it recently to "Do the right thing," because "Don't be evil" sounded too presumptuous. Because companies aren't necessarily evil, but big ones and successful ones tend to be not quite evil, but amoral, which is to say, they do whatever makes them the most money, whether it's good or bad, they don't care, whereas someone who's evil would actively seek to do bad. Whereas companies are just sort of amoral, motivated entirely by money. I heard that I used to be a thief, right? What a terrible sentence. Well, I'll open a chest for you. Will you keep it a secret from everyone else? Yeah, it's a secret to everyone. And you get... is that our 4th bottle? It is. Very nice. Don't want to have that equipped, though. Where are we headed now? Ah, we're going to call our bird friend. Well, a couple weeks ago, Google had a Google Doodle up, like they do occasionally. And they'll do this for all kinds of stuff, like, you know, Nikola Tesla's birthday, or, you know, Abraham Lincoln's birth, something like that. You know, some famous person. Like, it was like the anniversary of something they did, like the anniversary of the I Have a Dream speech or something like that. They'll do a Google Doodle, which is where they redo the words Google on the homepage in some fancy way that sort of shows off the... I can't fit right between those. Oh, I cannot. Lose some weight, Link. You gotta skinny up. That sort of shows off the... How am I meant to move that when it's in the corner from when I started? Can I push this off the edge? Okay. I thought that was a wall there. Another piece of a heart. Look at that. Well, they had one recently, like a little over a week ago, I believe. That was someone I'd never heard of. I really should have looked at that. I really should have looked up the name before this so I could speak in specifics. Give me a moment. Okay, I looked it up. Her name is Yuri Kochiyama. I believe she died, but anyway, it was a couple weeks ago. It was the anniversary of her birthday or some shit, and Google had a doodle for her, and it sparked controversy on the day of because she's not the kind of person that really deserves to be remembered. In the sense that, well, here I'll just show. Basically, there'll be a link to her Wikipedia page. You can, in the description, you can find it. But she's kind of an asshole. In a lot of ways that are completely unacceptable. The biggest one that stands out to me is, here is a quote from her from 2003. In a 2003 interview, she expressed admiration and support for Osama bin Laden, saying, quote, "I consider Osama bin Laden as one of the people that I admire. To me, he is in the category of Malcolm X, Che Guevara, Patrice Lumumba, Fidel Castro. I thank Islam for bin Laden. America's greed, aggressiveness, and self-righteous arrogance must be stopped." So, this is 2 years after 9/11. She's saying that she supports and admires the guy who's basically responsible for one of the most heinous acts of terrorism of all time, if not the most heinous. Like, if you had a list of the worst people ever, like top 5, you'd have Hitler and Osama on there, shoulder to shoulder. And she says that she respects and admires him. Holy shit! Like, can you think of a worse person to like show respect to? Like, how did this woman, like, who at Google thought this was a good idea? And people couldn't believe it. It's like, anyway, we're into the misery mire now. People couldn't believe it. It's like, how did they give the Google Doodle, and like, basically, the Google Doodle typically is to like have fond remembrance of someone, you know? So why would they give it to someone who so obviously doesn't deserve it? You know, it's just plain out an asshole. And it's like, people couldn't believe that it happened, and it's more controversy on the day of. Well, that controversy sort of re-erupted yesterday when it was Memorial Day for us in the United States. And Google didn't even have a doodle. They had, like, an icon, a tiny little picture at the bottom of the screen. And that's it. So, for a terrorist sympathizer, they have a full doodle with a link to her Wikipedia page. But for Memorial Day, you get an icon. It's just fucking sickening. And it's actually, I think it's, I don't want to say it's part of an agenda, but I will say that I've seen some things online recently that's sort of shocking, in that Google, everyone knows that Google, they sort of have their own algorithm for returning search results, and it's proprietary. Other companies try and copy it, try and steal it, because they want to be able to return the same results as Google, because that's what people expect to see when they search now, because Google's basically ubiquitous. Okay, we need to flip the blues down. There was this controversy a couple of years ago where Bing was flat out, if you search something in Bing, it would just search Google and then return those results. And they actually proved that, but rather than just saying like, oh, well, how can you tell that they copied it? If it's like, if you search for like Martin Luther King Jr., of course his Wikipedia page will be like on the first page of results. It's what people want to find. That's just good search engineering. So how can you say that they copied those results when that's what everyone would want? Well, the way Google did it, actually, and this is a point in their credit, was they created basically fake pages that had nonsense information on them that no one on the internet would have any real reason to like go to or search for. Made up phrases and like gobbledygook words, and they add them to their web cache, that they crawl over to create their search results. And so when people search for that stuff on Google, it would come up. But in theory, if you search for it anywhere else, it wouldn't come up because Google had made up those sites and it wasn't any real information, and there was just they weren't like published sites. They weren't out there for web caching or web crawling rather. So there should be no way from the outside to even be aware of those sites. And yet they still show up in Bing's search results, thus proving that Bing was actually just searching Google and then returning those results. Why? Okay, I guess I'll use my cape for this. I don't remember having to use the cape, but alright, cool. Let's try and sneak by this guy. Oh, that was close. Well, anyway, apparently in more recent events, Google has actually been censoring their search results to give search results related to the election a liberal slant. Where I've seen screen caps where if you search for liberal candidates' names, it comes up with like their Wikipedia entries and like recent CNN articles about them. And if you search for if you search for Donald Trump or Ted Cruz or whoever, it comes up with shit that's like very biased against them. Like it's basically just it only returns like liberal news sites, and the quotes and things that appear at the top are sort of biased against conservative candidates, which is really weird. And like even if you're someone who doesn't like Trump, which is a lot of people, once you start censoring things, and once the search engines start not returning everything and just returning the stuff that they want you to see, that's kind of a huge problem. I mean, it's a big deal when a government censors people or hides information. That's like one of the things that people agree is like that's like one of the worst things about living in one of those communist dictatorships like North Korea or China, is that fuck you, bomb slug, drive me crazy. Is that the censorship of information is that the people who live there don't really even have access to outside internet or to even find information, so they aren't able to realize just how bad they've got it. And that's one of the things that keeps those evil regimes in power. Well, obviously if a government's doing that kind of thing, it's bad, but it's pretty bad if a company's doing it too, because at this point they're not just like, it's not like Google's hiding search results for like they had like a taste test with Bing and the Lost and they're embarrassed about it. They're hiding results about political candidates. And because some editor there or whoever doesn't like a certain candidate, it's like that's bad. Because people expect to be able to go on Google and get relatively unbiased information. It's just supposed to search all of the web and show me what you found, not only return things that line up with your political view. That's just not a good place. Not a good place for Google to be right now. And the weird thing is that it's not hardly even. God damn it! Fucking conveyor belt floors. I guess I'll try and catch that fairy. Well, no, I'll go ahead and eat him. Come here, you. Alright, I don't know which way I want the floors to be. This dungeon's kind of dangerous because in the ice cavern, we're going to get the better tunic. So we'll have double defense. So coming here first, we don't have the double defense yet. So it's going to be a little tough. Okay, we need to come from over there. But we'll make it. But the double damage from the sword will help us a lot. We'll have to have and they say your best defense is a good offense. We're going to take advantage of that. Let's go through here before we get shocked. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents on the matter. I don't know. Do I need to light all those? Let's just leave. Oh, fucking the scenery starts shooting fireballs at you. You're going to have a hard time. Is it 8 bombs? Is that what that says? Wow. I've never seen 8 drop it at one time before. It's interesting. Oh yeah, it's kind of a symptom of a larger trend that's been happening, it seems like, in American politics lately, where rather than arguing with the other side, people attempt to silence them. Like, that's kind of the worst. Ah, shit. Ah! Okay, I can't hear you. How do I... Let's see. I need to clear a space. Can I not shoot the fire rod over... Would you stop it? Alright, well... Sliding all over the place. How many wizrobes? Oh, that's one of those infinitely spawning things. I'm going to farm a few hearts off of them. Stand in the middle and the 3 of them appear around me. Anyway, it seems to be... It seems to be a symptom of a larger problem lately where... Welp! Rather than arguing with your political opponents, people will seek to silence them. It's really strange. And it's like, you know, protesting and that sort of thing is sort of... It's one of your rights under the First Amendment. And it's something that people should exercise when people are, you know, doing stuff that's questionable. And you want to raise public awareness of it. That's what a protest is for. You come out to say, you know... I'm aware of this is happening. Maybe you're not aware of this is happening, but it's a bad thing, and you should be concerned about it. But it seems more likely lately that people who come out to protest are just out there to say that they're against something, and that it's not actually something that's like protest-worthy. It's just this person disagrees with me, kind of stuff. Like, you think about most hated protesters, I immediately think of Westboro Baptist Church, that group that holds up the signs that say God hates fags, and they're known to protest at soldiers' funerals and stuff like that. I gotta do these a little quicker. There we go. And it's just like, ugh, everyone agrees that they're assholes, but when people show up to do protests outside of a political candidate's rallies, it's like, this person's having a rally to show like how many people support them, and then outside, you know, there's half as many of that number turning up to say they don't support them. It's sort of like, who asked you? And it's just one of those weird situations where you have weird battle lines drawn. I don't know how else to describe it, but it's like you look at you can look at pictures and see, like, you know, people standing over there on one group, people standing over there in another group. And it's weird to see political lines sort of drawn physically, in the sense of which side of the road were you standing on at this protest or this rally or whatever. Very strange to me. Because usually a political opinion is one of those things that's sort of invisible. You know, it's like you have the right to hold whatever political opinions you want in the U.S. And that's one of the things that makes, you know, makes freedom great. And it's weird for people to show up to say that they don't want people to have that anymore. Where do I want to go here? So I just got... Oh, you know, I just got the big key, but I think... Was that the big key in that chest? Yeah. So the boss door is over there, but I don't have the item yet, so I think I need to circle back around here. Yeah, let me go back this way. Again, I'm not pre-planning my routes for the dungeons, just for the outdoor areas, so I don't wander around too much. Yeah, so we just need to go over to the right. Ah! Fireballs. But anyway, that's my 2 cents. I'm still not... It's coming back, man. The fireball's after me. I'm still not sure who I want to vote for in this election. It's just... Oh, what a mess. This has been an election cycle defined by people voting against a candidate rather than for one, and that's sort of telling, don't you think? You know? Like, I read some... I like to read about polls and stuff like that, and how the election is looking, what people in, like, the swing states are thinking, and what percentage of people agree with this candidate or that one or whichever. And it's sort of interesting that this election has sort of been defined not by people being for a candidate, like I say, but by people being against a candidate. And it's a bit strange to me. So did we get the item from this dungeon? Yeah, we just got it. It's the Cane of Samaria, and that's the reason that we came here before the Ice Temple. Okay, so now that we have that, so there was a big key door over there that I'm not sure if that links down to the bottom floor. I don't have a small key. This dungeon has a few optional rooms, and it would seem that I may have used my key in one of them instead of here. There's enough keys, obviously, to open all the doors, but this is one of those dungeons where you can end up going in circles, because sometimes a key door will just take you to another key door, and you're kind of left wondering why you bothered. But yeah, I was reading a survey that said that, I forget, it was between Hillary and Trump, and people were asked, you know, do you support this candidate or that one? Or like, I think it was, do you have a yeah, that's what it was. Do you have a favorable view of Hillary, and do you have a favorable view of Trump? And the order is randomized. Ooh, a warp. And then they were asked, do you have an unfavorable view of Hillary? Do you have an unfavorable view of Trump? And the numbers didn't add up. It was like 60% had a favorable, or well, no, actually it was about half. So it was like about half have a favorable view of each candidate, but like more than half of an unfavorable view of the other. And then there was actually one I read that where one of the questions was if, I forget who it was. I forget exactly how they phrased it, but it was basically, would you rather have anybody else? And I was like, yes. To the point where people who are going, there's a lot of actual supporters for these, but there's actually a lot more people who are big supporters of one candidate because they can't stand the other. And it's weird that we've reached such a divided point. But, you know, it seems to be happening more and more. It seems to be a trend. Okay, I need to go through this bottom left door, I believe. Oh, there's a button somewhere. There we go. So this is where the Cane of Mire comes into play. Yeah, put a block on there. That's what it does. That's going to shortcut the next dungeon. That's sort of a bad place for the country to be in when people go out not because they want to vote for a candidate, but because they want to cancel out a vote for the opponent. That's worrisome, because that means that the majority of people are looking at least one of the candidates and saying, God, it sucks. It would be horrible if they became president. But I think that sort of adds up to, there's probably quite a few people who look at both of them and say, that would be terrible. Oh, God. Why can't we get someone who's actually, you know, a decent candidate? Like, how do we end up with, how do we get here? How did it get this bad? Kind of questions. What is it? Is it a fucking conveyor belt? What is, I'm just going to go to the next room. Am I going to be walled in by blocks? Yeah, okay. That's a sad place to be, and it seems like politically the country has become more and more divided in recent years, to the point where it used to, whoa. It used to be that the country could sort of go either way, and or even as late, as early, or as recently as like the early 70s, late 60s, I believe. Anti-fairies sucking up my mana. Ooh, double fairy dust. Nice. Bombable wall. You would have states voting against, you'd have states voting against their current color, as I say, red or blue. You know, I think it was JFK was the last time Georgia was blue, and when Reagan ran, like almost the whole country went red. I think he even won New York, if I remember correctly. Don't quote me on that. But he won some serious, you know, liberal holding kind of states where you think, well, they're going to be blue for all time. And so, you know, there have been candidates, you know, within the last 30, 40 years that almost every state has voted for. And I don't think we're ever going to have that again if the two-party system continues the way it is. Because, I mean, can you imagine like the current Democratic or Republican Party coming out with a candidate that would be like centrist, that every state could vote for, when the people that they've picked or they're trying to pick to support them are Hillary and Trump? It's just kind of a joke, isn't it? Now, I'm trying to remember if you can use, is it the ice rod? I forget. Whatever. I'll do it the old-fashioned way. Hit him with your sword. boss basically kills himself if you stand in the corner and hit his eyeballs as they come at you. It does some damage though, so be careful, especially if you're doing the Misery Mire first. This guy will fuck you up, so watch out. Really control your distance from him so you can time your strikes. Don't let him get right on top of you. Speaking of which, try not to get squished either. It can be hard to get a character like this off of you once they're on. I also think that it's easier to hit him when he's sort of closer to the ground, but it could just be me. Not a super hard fight. Don't get up in his face when he's doing the eyeball phase. Just back up and let them come at you one at a time. But anyway, I promise I won't talk about politics in the next video. Punch! Because of you, I can escape from the clutches of the evil monsters. You've heard this speech before. He captured us because he wants some golden powers. Oh, man.
Agonimus's pawn drew us into the dark world after cracking the seal with our powers. He put us in these crystals.
Well, wait, if you have the power to crack seals, can't you just crack your way out of that crystal? If you guys are the ones who have the most powerful magic, why aren't you doing the stuff? Why am I doing this? Funny there, she tells you to go to Turtle Rock, which would be the last, well, the 8th dungeon. Excuse me, the 7th, and the 7th crystal. You can see the 7 of them over on the right there. Which is kind of funny, because we're not going there next. We're going to go back to the 5th dungeon, because that was number 6, technically. So we're going to go back to number 5 in the next episode. And do the Ice Cavern. So now that we have the Crane of Samaria, there'll be one part in the Ice Cavern that we can basically just skip right over, and it saves a lot of time and a lot of hassle. I'll explain why when we get there. So thanks for watching. Sorry we got political. I won't do that next time. And I will see you... How many outros have I done?